Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you 7 commands that I wish I knew earlier that really helps me in my Rhino workflows. It's a series of 7 commands that I think kind of are related to each other. Somehow in my mind they're all belonging in the same family. It's a combination between 3D and using curves to manipulate objects. So I think the best is if we just jump into it. So you can find this study file in the description or via Teams. But otherwise, you can also just try out the commands yourself and have some fun. So we have an overview here on the top uh, viewport. Let's have a look. The first command is loft, which we already know, but I still think it's nice to remember it. Then we have 2 revolves. One is revolve, one is rail revolve. Then we have pipe, helix, sweep 1, which we've tried before. Another case of sweep 1, sweep 2, and another sweep 2. So we can go ahead. Let's jump into perspective view. Again, if you forget, double click on the name to switch to different viewports. Let's start with the loft. Here I have a bunch of polygons stacked on top of each other. You can see they are flat on the floor, but we want to turn this into a 3D shape. So what we can do is by selecting one of them and moving them to different heights. Could also be different positions, for example, like so. So you can see now they are stacked with a certain distance in between, and they are completely different shapes. But let's say we want to make a 3D shape out of them. So what we can do is type the command loft with our keyboard, and we select the curves to loft. Again, with loft, the order matters. So if you have 1, 2, 3, you have to select them in that order, or from top to bottom, or from bottom to top. So let's see here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Press enter. You're gonna see this line, which is actually asking you what is the direction that you want the loft to go. So a loft kind of creates a sweep shape around the outline or the perimeter of these polygons. Like this, it's fine. We can try something funny afterwards. So, whoa, that looks completely crazy. So you can see it's creating a shape going from the square to the star to this hexagon to the circle. And right now it is quite a sharp shape. We can maybe play around with these options. So normal, it just makes sure that the 3D line going through all the shapes is touching all of the existing polygons. With loose, it creates something that is flowing a bit more loosely along these outlines. With tight is an even tighter version of normal. We have straight sections, which will just create a straight line whenever it can. Create some very interesting results. And we have uniform, which is very similar to normal. I think it's just how the lines are calculated. We can also have a closed loft, which goes completely crazy because this is way too complex of a shape. So let's press closed off and let's press OK. So you can see now we have our shape. It's completely open in the middle. We can always cap this to make it closed. This already makes for quite an interesting kind of side table or statuette. I don't know, you can think whatever you want. We can also try to make these a little bit more aligned to see what's going to happen. So let's do loft again. Let's start from the top this time just to show you how it works. Okay, and let's maybe play around with these guys. So let's try to put them a bit more straight here and see what's going to happen. Yeah, so because I'm using loose, it looks like that. But again, if I now press OK, now we have 2 different options with the same polygons. But you see they look quite different just by playing around with the position of the shapes. And again, we can change the order of these shapes to see what's going to happen. So let's try to go from the widest to the narrowest loft. 1, 2, 3, 4. Press enter. Yeah, again, another interesting result. And to be sure, you don't have to actually put them kind of in the same distance from each other. You can have one that's really far away and some that are really close. So let's loft these guys again. I'm gonna click now out of order. So I went 1, 3, 2, 4. Press enter. You see this is happening, which creates something completely crazy, which is actually cool. I like the shape, but that's not really what we were trying to do. So let's delete this and do loft, and then let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Press enter. Yeah, I like this. This is very interesting. So loft is quite a happy command in my opinion. And I think it's really strong if you know how to use this. Of course, now I'm creating these sculptures, but you can use this for many, many things. All right, the next command is called revolve. So a revolve picks a just curve and it revolves it along an axis to create a 360 or something in between of this original curve. So let's try it out. Let's do a revolve. Let's press our curves. Let's press enter. And now it's selecting the start of the revolve axis. So you can imagine that the axis is the distance between the center of the revolve. So if I press here, my shape will go around in more or less this direction. If I would press here, it will make it a way larger shape. That's the power of the axis. So let's try it again, but I'm gonna do it here in the middle because this is kind of a side profile of the wine glass. The next question that Rhino is asking me is the end of the revolve axis. So let's go out of perspective mode and into front view because the end of my axis, and I don't know why I have ortho not on, is somewhere here along these lines. So at the top of my object. And now you can see that it is asking me what is the start angle. I can either press enter because the start angle is 0. So it's just going to go straight ahead here. But if I wanted to, for example, start in a different position, maybe on the other side, I could change it with my cursor. But I'm going to just press enter to do 0. And now you can see the magic is happening. So if I move my shape, turn off ortho, you can see that when I'm drawing with my cursor here, I'm creating the revolve of this wine glass. I could stop it at any moment, or I could also type on my keyboard how many degrees do I want to do. So 360 would be a complete circle. Otherwise, if I wanted to do maybe 15 or 45 or 60 or 90, you can see 90 is making 1/4 of my shape. But I want to go to full 360. And there we go. Now we have a wine glass. And we can also cap this to make it into some kind of wine statue. The next command is quite similar. It's called rail revolve. So let's go ahead and try it out. So first you need to select the profile curve, which is your outline shape of your vase or your glass. Then you need to select the rail curve, which is a polygon on the bottom of your shape, which will dictate the shape of your vase in the end. Now it sounds completely crazy, but let's try it out. So here I have my rail. It already selected for me. I need to select the beginning of the axis just like before. And I need to select the end, which I'm going to go here to the top. And it completes the rail revolve for me because my rail is a closed curve. So if I would have it open, it would stop where the shape stops. But also because it is a pentagon, it's going to create this really interesting faceted kind of shape around my vase. Yeah, it's really cool, guys. What can I say? Next command is the pipe. So let's just try it out. Pipe. Here I have a kind of floating chair shape, which I want to make into a 3D object. So if I select this rail, I can already see that it is asking me to choose the radius for a closed pipe because this is a closed curve. It goes all the way around. So let's do for now 5 as my radius, 5 millimeters. Press enter. I could go ahead and choose different values, but I want to just confirm. And you can see that I have now a 3D pipe around my curve. So that was pipe, quite simple. Let's try it again with the helix. So here I have already a helix, which I'm going to delete. Let's try out the command helix ourselves. we need to choose the start of the axis. So again, just like the revolve, you need to pick a bottom point, and I'm going to go here to the front view to pick the end of my axis. Then you can see if I move my mouse, I can choose the radius of my helix. I can also go into the command line or the command box if you're in Mac and change how many turns. Now I have 10 turns. Let's do maybe 5. So you can see how that affects our helix. You can also choose the pitch. I don't know what that does, 25. Huh. I don't really see the difference. Oh, it changed the turns as well. So they are kind of related to each other. But let's keep 5. And then I'm going to click to confirm. Here I have now a wonderful helix. So because my helix is not a closed curve, unlike the chair we did before, it's an open curve. When I try to do a pipe, it's going to ask me the first radius, which is in the beginning, and the end radius, which is at the top. I'm going to do 15, so it goes a little bit bigger. I could also find here in the middle a spot to change, but I'm going to keep it like this. So now my pipe is growing as it is going up the helix. And let's try, just for the sake of it, 5 and 15. And I could also click here in the middle and pick some different radii to see what's going to happen. So you can see now it went bigger in the middle and then it started going smaller again to create this very interesting snake result. Very cool. Here we have sweep. We tried sweep before when we made the cat chair in lesson 9, if I'm not mistaken. Sweep 1 will basically take a profile curve that you have and sweep it along a rail line. So here I have a star and a kind of snaky curve. So let's try sweep 1. First I have to select my rail. Then I have to select my sweep shape and press enter. It's going to give me a kind of a directional arrow, which I could change, but now I'm not going to bother with this. Press enter, and then you're going to see some options here that you can change, but let's not do it right now. And as you can see, I created this very interesting star-shaped bench. You can imagine people are sitting here. This is more of a conversation pit. I don't know. It looks interesting, and sweep 1 is a cool command. What else could you use sweep 1? So if you're making an interior space and you want to use this detail on the corners, plinth, you could use sweep 1, for example. So let's select our rail. Let's select our sweep shape. Press enter. That's all right. Yes. You can see that it now created a very nice decorated plinth along my rail line. And of course it is using squared corners, which works beautifully for an interior space. So here we have the final command, which is called sweep 2. It's pretty similar to sweep 1, but you have 2 rails. Let's try it out. Sweep 2, first rail, second rail, and then the sweep shape. Press enter, confirm, and click OK. And you will have a sweep shape that is growing along these reference lines. Maybe with the square, it's quite hard to see. Let's cap this. Let's try it out with this ellipse. Sweep 2, first rail, second rail, and the sweep shape. Press enter. Now this is looking interesting. So it is sweeping my sweep shape along the boundary of these 2 rails. And because these were curved lines, you get this really interesting effect happening here. So yeah, feel free to try it out yourselves. This was more of a shorter video, but you can see the nice library of objects that we have come up with here. So have fun and see you in the next class. See ya!